Live. All right. Meeting is now live. It's just setting up. Coaches, welcome. This is probably, JT, the latest I have ever done a stream. So thank you so much for being here. We're going to be talking all things quarterback and anything else that comes up. I'm just fixing to send out the email.
This might be the latest I've ever streamed.
Say what?
This might be the latest I've ever streamed too.
Yeah, man, we're setting records, man. We're setting records.
I'm excited.
First, I want to just go ahead and say that I am loving the content you are putting out right now, the QB draft stuff. Well, how do you think that's going to play out? Like,
do you think there's going to be a draft?
Yes.
I mean, I can't imagine that there is, but it would be great for QB school if they pushed it back a few weeks and we just keep talking it. But honestly, I mean, it just kind of feels like the NFL is in their own little bubble and they just are going to keep on operating like all systems go. And I feel like the world is just saying, I don't think so. And so I think everybody would love to see it and would be fun to celebrate it, for a few days to have something to watch on TV. But I'm not sure how we start celebrating this, especially, I don't think anybody thinks that the next few weeks are going to be great. So it'll be fascinating to see how it shakes out. I just found that
amazing. He's like, no, we're still going to have it. We're still going to do it and all that. And I'm like, oh my goodness. All right. Well, coaches coming in. Thank y'all so much. We got Chris here, Cameron, watch your channel all the time and take notes from my team. Greenfield, what's going on? I was afraid I wasn't going to find this. Noah's watching from Wisconsin. Daniel, let's see what's going on. Coach, time I caught you. Justin from Georgia. How you doing, sir? Who is not a coach, just loves the spread and air raid offenses. Let me ask something. Do you see a lot of people on your channel? Are they more coaches? Are they fans? Are there a mixture? Because I know a lot of coaches I talk to love your stuff.
Yeah. I mean, I think I aspire it to be more fan based. I think I'm always surprised when coaches watch it. And I mean, I guess the idea is that it touches a bunch of different buckets, but it's definitely not, I would hope it's not coach centric. No offense to coaches as I am one, but
none at all.
It's a lot more of just kind of, for me, the way that I think about it is I'm creating what I wish existed when I was coming up. Like, I wish I had access, it was before the quarterback guru days where you could go get one-on-one, training and stuff like that. I just wanted to know, like, what was I missing out on? What were they really talking about in the quarterback meetings and all those things that I felt like was this like knowledge gap from what I was learning and playing and kind of, watching myself try to get better. And then what were the people who doing it at the highest level doing? And I think like there's a certain extent of some coaches that feel the same way. Like, I got to get to the next level. They do it so much better up there. They don't. They get paid more. I'll be honest, they get paid more. There's different stresses, but there's stresses at every level. But there's ball is ball. And once I think you understand like the core principles and have a sound reason for why you do what you do, and you make it work, and that's kind of the essence of it.
All right, man. I just appreciate the channel. I know I sound like a homer right now.
No,
Coach
I
Baker,
appreciate it.
Welcome. Coach Jones, hello. They're just filtering in. Todd, what's going on? The two best in the business. I'm just trying to be like this man right here. John, what's going on? Anthony, Eric, Dwayne, how are y'all doing? All right, so my very first question, and I get a lot. We talked about this off air, but I've been getting a lot of questions now about, hey, coach, with the coronavirus, we don't have spring ball. I have a competition between two quarterbacks. How do I make that decision? And I wanted to turn that over to you. Like, what are you looking for in quarterbacks? If you have two quarterbacks, how are you choosing which one if they're roughly the same?
I mean, the first thing I would say is that's pretty great to have multiple quarterbacks. Really, because I mean, not everybody has one, let alone multiple quarterbacks. And so, and just speaking anecdotally, the high school that we're at, we have two quarterbacks this year. And so there will be a competition in camp. And the same thing I've told them the entire process, though. You're evaluated in everything that you do. So right now, ready to lay out. We were already going into our, ironically called quarterback school stuff over the off season, where we do installations and kind of on field stuff. And obviously can't do that now, but we're still trying to tinker with how we're going to do it. I don't necessarily love the idea of having more Zoom calls or Zoom meetings, but I do like the idea of keeping football relevant. I think you can get into a little bit of a vacuum where you tell your players or your program, like, hey, you got to work out. And like, here's this like posted social media workout. You better send me a video of you doing burpees. Like that's not necessarily what I think is going to move us in the trajectory that we want as a program. I want them to be fully equipped to compete at their highest level when we get an opportunity to compete, whenever that is. Hopefully it's in the fall and in the summer and all those things, but I want them operating at their highest level. So it's up to me as a coach. I feel a lot of pressure, not a lot of pressure. I want them to have the artillery to be able to compete, and that means operate the offense at a high level right from jump. That was always kind of the goal with the way that I spoke to our quarterbacks competing for the job. Is everything up until camp is us getting ready for you to compete at the highest level. Then camp starts, you're locked in, we're competing for a few weeks, the best player plays. That's the gist. And that's the way I think it should be. And I think I'm fortunate. We are fortunate this year to have two quarterbacks. Last year, we probably didn't have two quarterbacks that could play. And so this year it's our responsibility. And I think it makes them better to compete. I've been in competitions before where I definitely felt like I was better coming out of it than I was coming into it. And so I just try to be honest with them and tell them that. And that's part of the deal. Like, you want to compete, you want to be at the most competitive position. I think the most competitive position in team sports, you got to embrace those competitions. And, the best, just like any position battle, right? The best player is going to rise to the top. Like, you're going to be able to see, they're going to separate themselves. And you just want to create as many meaningful situations where they can separate themselves. Not, no offense, not 7-on-7, some are 7-on-7s. I'm looking for playing football, operating the offense, seeing how they influence their teammates. My thing about it, easy way that I evaluate quarterbacks, and I used to think about what I wanted to bring to the table was, do you make everybody around you better? You might not huddle. Like, we don't huddle. Like, say you're in a muddle. Does everybody when you walk into the muddle, is everyone like, oh yeah, we're going to roll? Or is it like, oh, like, I guess we're going to run it, like that.
And the crazy thing is, you actually see that.
Yeah. It's contagious. They know.
Yeah.
Your teammates know, locker rooms know, they know probably before the coaches know.
That is true. Looking back on it, we've had some situations like that. And another thing that I've found is kids, they don't pull punches, man. They'll actually tell you. They'll pull you off to the side and be like, hey, coach, go with so-and-so. He's a little bit better.
Especially when it impacts their touches. Yeah. That, unsolicited advice from some wide receivers. Yeah.
Yes. All right. So we've got a couple of questions right now. And coaches, if you have any questions, go ahead and put them in the comments. That's what makes this live stream stuff very entertaining and fun. Coach Martin wants to know, what if you have a young quarterback who's talented yet very nervous about letting him take the reins?
The coach is nervous about him taking the reins?
Yes. The coach is nervous about a talented quarterback. I don't know what reason for, but how do you?
The way that and I don't know if it has anything to do with dealing with a talented quarterback or a not talented quarterback, but any quarterback, to me, and this comes back to my, default to English major days, is you got to teach me, you got to prove to me that you know the rules and the structure of what we're asking you to do. So if we say the read is, 1, 2, 3, you got to go through the read at 1, 2, 3, if that's the read for this concept. And you got to prove to me that you know it, in a classroom setting, in a meeting setting, on a test setting, on the practice field setting. And then when we get in the game, if you say, hey, I know that you know the read, but if you see the matchup or you see something that you want to know, then you get the reins. Then I get to tell you, oh, hey, you got the green light to take the matchup. You got the green light to make the change. You got the green light to signal, things like that, as opposed to, day one, we call a play. You're not going out there signaling something that you want to do. Like, that's not how it works. You got to earn the right to get to that point. And that's what I think the trust thing is. And that's why I make no bones about it. Everybody in our program knows that I coach the quarterbacks probably harder, or I'm more demanding on their understanding of what we're trying to do, because I think it's a lot easier to coach one person to be the decision maker than, 11 guys. You know, I'm not a huge fan of like stopping everything, audibling, things like that. Like I want one person to be able to make the decisions and go as fast as we can go.
Okay. All right. And Coach Todd wants to know, how long do you sit and break down the QBs when you put the draft things together for each one of them?
You see it. Like the time that I spend on those is I try to make it as real as like what it would be like for an evaluator or a quarterback in the quarterback room. Like I'm just watching the film. I don't, very rarely, you know, every once in a while I'll like drop an F-bomb or something that I try to take out, or like, you know, we'll start slurring over stuff that I don't mean to, or fall over myself. But most of it is just kind of like a running dialogue with myself. It's almost like self-therapy, to be honest with you, kind of watching it, where it's a little bit, I forget sometimes that I like will tell myself jokes, and people tell me in the comments, you know, like, you said something about the mascot or Sporky, or you always point out the mascots, or I like watching stuff like on the sidelines. And so that's just what I used to do when I was in quarterback meetings. You know, you just kind of like,
Zone out.
yeah, you just kind of get into a rhythm of what you're watching. But the reason that I like that, the reason I do it that way is a handful of different reasons. One is I think it kind of jacks with the YouTube algorithm a little bit, which is like the fifth reason. The other reason is that I just think it's a more real take on what it's like. I feel like you can get, you know, anybody can go get a highlight and get the commentator talking over the highlight. I want to see the full context of the play and watch kind of someone compete for the course of the game. I want to see if they get smacked and, you know, hit hard in the pocket. Are they tentative? Does it change their game? I want to watch how they interact with their teammates in between plays. How do they celebrate touchdowns? Do their offensive linemen run over and pick them up, or do they, you know, run the other way? I think that there are many things like that that are telling that you can't get in a TV broadcast. And so I'm just trying to, and I think it's a different way that, you know, it's harder to find, just because most people don't want to sit there and probably create that stuff. But I like it. I think it's a unique way to do it, but there's not a lot of, and it's for a handful of reasons. One, I don't have access to every single college football game. So the games that I do are usually the best games that I can get of that quarterback. And so, you know, I try to take advantage of every snap that I can show and provide kind of a full context of not saying like the generic terms of like, this guy's got a cannon, or like he needs to work on his feet. Like, I don't know what that means. Like, you know, I want to see it. I want people to describe to me, like, what exactly are they looking at? Like when they say like, he makes terrible decisions, like, how do you even know that? Like what, you know, who knows unless you're in the room. And so I think that when you watch more plays, you get a little bit broader context, a little bit deeper take. And so it's fun for me. I know it's a lot to ask people to watch that type of stuff that long, especially if you're watching like on a phone. But
it's great. What else do we have to do now?
Some Zoom meetings,
Zuma Palooza,
some online clinics.
Yeah. Sticking with that theme, has anyone like jumped out to you as you watch the film, like, oh, this guy's like not getting the credit he deserves?
I mean, I don't know if it's on the YouTube stuff. It's definitely on the Patreon stuff. I really like Tua. Like, I don't understand. I get the hurt thing, but his body of work with what he's done, you know, I think he translates into a really, really good pro for a really long time. I know, and I get the history of the injury thing. My thing with that is that I played with a bunch of guys that came in with all sorts of nagging injuries. Well, they were also 20. You know, you might not even be done growing, you know, at that time. You come out early, things like that. And so I just think it's a variable. If I got an opportunity to draft him as a front office person, I would be really excited. I think the other person that I like, that I haven't watched them, I've literally watched one game on, but I put it out this week, Nate Stanley from Iowa, surprised me with the film. He's super polished compared to what I probably think, you know, that tier of guy is. You know, I think back to what I was like. I was a 6th round pick, Division II guy, opposite of polished, you know, like, and that kind of went my entire career. But like, you know, unless you're obviously getting coached to do that. Like, you look at a guy like Joe Burrow, that guy has been coached really well for a long time. You know, you don't magically get 2 hands on the ball every single time, every single place you go. You don't magically have that level of a base and are consistent with your stroke and fluid, things like that. That's not, it's a learned skill. And so, you know, that part of it, obviously Joe Burrow is gonna have a nice career unless he goes to Cincinnati. But the rest of it, they're an easy target. It's not the city, people. It's not the city.
Yes, the organization.
But yeah.
I love that, Dick. I'm glad you brought up Patreon though, because I'm gonna drop all of your social media links in the chat, your YouTube, your Twitter, your Patreon. And coaches, if you haven't, you need to join the Patreon. I've joined it personally. I got an amazing video that I loved. It's just great. That's all I can say about it. It is unbelievable. You need to check it out. All right, I have a couple more questions. Eli wants to know if you have an older kid that could start at quarterback for 1 year, or an equally talented kid who is a freshman or sophomore, what kid would you go with and why? I think I would lean younger for the upside later on. So where do you fall in it? Because a lot of coaches do have this problem. Where do you fall in?
I feel like y'all got quarterbacks coming out the woodwork. Like, you got multiple quarterbacks, different levels. Like, I love it. Yeah, what a great problem to have. To me, I'm always going to try to make the decision what's best for the team. Honestly, like, I know that's a cliche, like sounds like I'm like a baby Belichick, but like, that's the easy answer. Like, if you were a senior offensive lineman, would you want the freshman, who's going to be good in 3 years to play, or you want, your classmate? Everything for me is always trying to give the students and the players the absolute best experience that they can possibly have. And, at the same time, I think the flip side of that is, if the freshman really is better than the senior, then he deserves to play. And it's not rec soccer, and not everybody gets a turn. And that's the truth. And so I make no bones about it when I try to frame that as the best player plays, and the person that I think is the best player, that's the thing about being the coach. You get to decide who gets the playing time, and they have to earn it, and you set the standards and benchmarks. But to me, the best player gets an opportunity to play. I don't care if they're an 8th grader, if we'll find some rules.
Yeah. I agree. And the crazy thing, you said that I used to coach basketball, and we played a team that had an 8th grader that dominated us. Like, hands down, the best thing. My dad asked the coaches, like, why do you play that 8th grader? And he was like, did you not see him play? That's the reason why. He had like 25 points and 10 dimes, and he was the point guard. We're like, okay, all right, easy enough. Right. No one wants to know, how do you teach reading defenses during progressions to your quarterback?
So that's a great question. And I think it depends on the offense that you're in. I think the way that I do it, it depends on the concept, right? Many concepts are what I classify as pure progressions, meaning 1, 2, 3, or 1, 2, 3, 4. Really, if high school, 1, 2, or 1 check down, whatever you want to do it. Other ones are usually based off some sort of split field read, either open or closed, or man or zone. And so depending on the concept, and those things can vary per week. That's how I always played. That's how I thought I played at the highest level. We might have one concept that 1 week we'll read, closed open. The next week we'll read man zone. And so you got to be able to adapt to whatever the opponent that you're playing. That's kind of why I always love the systems that are made like that, so that it's not always like slant, flat, check down like that. That works great in junior high flag football, but it struggles versus teams and guys that are moving and fluid, especially in high school for us last year. And I'm only talking with 1 year of experience of high school coaching, but we would see stuff on film, for the 3 or 4 games that you're going to watch to prepare, and then they run a completely different front, completely different coverage, and you just waste your time. Like, we're focused on trying to lock in with what we do. And that's why personally I like what I'm used to calling like all-purpose plays, or all-purpose menu type things that 1, 2, 3, doesn't matter what it is. They might have man zone built-in adjustments, but I want the read to always be kind of as consistent as possible. I always joke, Brett Favre used to said this once in a meeting that I loved. Darrell Bevel was our quarterbacks coach, and he just used to grind Brett, and it would, Brett was older than him, whatever. And he was always like, Brett, what's the read on this? What's the read on this? And Brett, no matter what the read was always like 1, 2, 3, put it on him. You'd be like, well, what's the 2? It's the second guy, whatever. It's like, just make it simple for them. Let them go out there and rip it and play. But I do think that there is a lot of, for me, I can always tell. I always used to think when I was playing, and especially when I was playing, but now coaching, you have to be able to talk it, quickly, like on a sideline, like what happened on that play? Like, oh, I threw it to the out. I thought it was middle field closed man. Well, it wasn't. Like, it was 0. Like, no, bro, like you can't miss that. Like, that doesn't work, like that type of stuff where I'm always like, that's why I like to be able to diagnose, like, okay, we thought they were going to be in quarters and they're in, playing us in a 4-4. Like, it's not going to work. Like, we got to change it up. And so that part of it, beyond that, and that the other thing that I usually end up eventually telling quarterbacks is everything is one-on-one. It's all, at some point, if you make the right read and throw it to the right guy, there's probably going to be one person guarding him, and our guy's got to beat him, and you've got to do everything you can to give him a catchable ball in space and let him do what he does and be a playmaker. It's, we're not going to worry about, was it Palms? Was it 2? Was it Tampa 2? Was it, what are they doing reading the number 2 vertical? Like, I don't care. Like, we're going to throw it to our best guy as often as we possibly can, and we'll roll.
All right. And I'm glad you brought that up. I know you're a big believer in doing drills and stuff like that are simulations, correct?
What does that mean? Simulation?
Like game-like drills and things, so it correlates.
Sure.
Do you have a drill that your quarterback has to throw one-on-one so that the wide receiver and the defender are together, and you're working that quarterback actually making throws like you would in a game?
You mean just like one-on-one?
Yeah, that's a stupid ass question. You're completely right. I'm saying, like, I know that things that you do in practice, like if we're doing one-on-ones and they're just dropping back, there's no pass rush, nothing like that. He can have all the time in the world to throw that ball. That doesn't really translate into game-like situations. Is there anything you do unique that helps that quarter?
Swing a broom at him or something, or like throw a medicine ball? No, those things crack me up. Like, no, I make them stop their drop, jump over 3 bags, spin, jump through cones, and throw. No, to be honest with you, last year, and obviously I keep saying last year because it's only been 1 year, but even when I was playing, I just wanted to be able to take my drop, take a hitch, reset, whatever you want to call it, and get the ball out on time. And if I couldn't, I wanted to be able to have a little pocket savviness to move, keep my base where I wanted it, deliver like to a second or third read, or get it down to a check down. But then if I have to move or something, like, at that point, I'm a professional athlete. Like, I can get on the edge, and I know what the scramble rules are. Like, let's talk scramble rules in mini camp, and we can drill it, maybe 1 rep every 7-on-7 once a week. But like, I'm not worried about throwing on the run, like I see all these things like online with all these gurus got their guys going through all these bags and throwing on the run. You throw, at least in the way that I've always been told, is that you have out of pocket throws down the field to a receiver, like not throwaways, at max 5 times a game. So if we throw the ball 40 times a game, all our throws are RPO, quick game stuff, or drop back, throw it. And the reason that we're calling it is because I think it's open and I want you to throw it in rhythm on time. And if it's not, we do so much peak tempo, or like, I'm not going to, give you something that's not going to work. I'm calling thinking it's probably going to be pretty good. And if it's not, don't hang me out to dry and throw it into a DB's chest. But like, I'm not asking you, to sit in there and take 3 hitches off a 7-step drop from under center. Like, that's just not what we're doing. And so I'm always about, I want us being smooth, repeatable, consistent, stroke, ball placement, accuracy, confident, and being able to rip it where I want you to rip it, and becoming more and more comfortable anticipating. We've got 2 guys competing for the job this year that both have really good arms, and they have probably never been asked to anticipate in a game before, ever. Well, I'm going to ask them to anticipate all the time. And so, not that they turns into every throw in the game, but on a really meaningful down against probably someone who's better than us playing defense, we're going to have to make some anticipation throws. And so that's where I think you can get those separators, with what we're asking them to do, as opposed to what maybe they've done at JV ball or freshman ball.
Okay. All right. And here's a question. Let's say, what advice do you have for a coach that's going in? He's going to be an offensive coordinator. He's going to coach quarterbacks, but he really doesn't know anything about quarterbacks. Like, can you point him to some literature, some videos, or is it kind of like, hey, buddy, you're just going to have to sink and swim on your own and just work it out?
I mean, I know a good YouTube channel, but like, I don't like, no, I mean, honestly, like, no. And I honestly, I wouldn't even say that to someone because I would, what I'm doing is not going to give them the tools to do that consistently.
Nice plug though. I like it.
I mean, I would do what, like anything, I guess there, I mean, there's so much information available nowadays, whether it's, but at the same time, like I'm always hesitant to be like, hey, you know, I saw this drill, like we got to go do that. Like I would never tell, you know, our DB coach, like, hey, I saw this back pedal drill that I think would be sweet. Like, no, like I want them to coach it up. And if you don't have the capacity to coach a position, like, you know, you obviously can do your own research, reach out to people as much as you possibly can, like you would do for anything, you know, like, but I don't, there's no secret sauce about like what you could possibly do. My thing that I think that I would, unsolicited advice I would give them is make it as simple as possible for the quarterback so they can play as fast as possible, not out there muddy. So what I mean by that is in our RPO stuff, we usually have one guy that we're reading, whether it's a first level, second level, third level guy, depending on the concept. They have one person. And if they don't know what that person is, then I haven't done a good job coaching it up. But beyond that, I think it's really hard to ask people to, you know, identify multiple things and have all sorts of like cloudiness in their vision, as opposed to just being like, here's our guy, either or, run, pass, lock in, here we go. And in the run game, yeah, it might be a little bit, or in the pass game, it might be a little bit more complicated with a progression. But I mean, even the progressions, you know, are pretty simple. They're usually, you know, very rarely going full field reads, you know, whether you don't, you know, you don't have the time to do that. Or we don't have the time to do that.
We don't either. It's usually 1-2, get the hell out of there.
Yeah. I mean, I'm still trying to get our backs to get out on checkdowns. They just don't believe me. But
it takes a lot. If I've done 3 quarterbacks. One finally got it his senior year, like, hey, when in doubt, just throw it to the back. That's it. And go ahead.
Do you guys do more like 5-man protection or 6-7-man stuff? Because last year we did the vast majority, 75% 6-man, and now the more that I'm looking around the high school game, people are just doing 5-man. They're just free release in the back and saying
that's what we did.
And so if we did that, we better throw more checkdowns.
Yeah,
but I was
the thing that we had an issue with is we didn't know whether to do a shoot or a swing. Where, you know, it's kind of pressing the line of scrimmage and then going where, you know, the swing is just in the backfield. Yeah. I'm more of a shoot guy because it really makes that in the high school level, that corner, if he's playing palms or something, kind of attack and it opens up. But my running backs hated catching it with their back turned to the defense. They liked catching it and squaring up so they could see. But 5-man, we rarely had sacks, like at all. And we would always slide away from the first progression. Yes, good defensive coordinators pick up on that. Yeah, but then we pulled in, you know, bounce it motion or tear motion and things like that to really hide it. But we haven't had an issue. And that's something I find that kind of pisses me off when, you know, you draw a pass play and people are like, well, how are you going to pass protect it? It's like, to me, it's not that difficult. Like half slide. That answers everything. Half slide. I mean, I'm not going to full slide it or anything like that.
Yeah. I mean, I'm fascinated by it. I thought I was going to have to mix it up more than I probably do. I mean, talking to a bunch of other people too, they've been like, no, we just tell the back to go. And I'm like, well, what if he comes? They're like, they don't. And I'm like, and I get it, especially for us, we try to go so fast. You can't come at us. Like you just can't, you're either going to come at us every play or you're not going to come at us at all. And so there's no mid-series adjustments. And so, you know, that part of it makes sense to me. I just used to get so pissed at the back because I felt like they either don't know who they're blocking and if their guy doesn't come, they don't get out. And it's like, you're missing the point. Like this play is called for the check down. Like it's essentially a screen. You got to get out. And they'd be like, you know, and it's my own issues, but it's I think it'll be interesting to see, you know, I definitely look like that will be one of the things that I'm looking to adjust moving forward, calling plays.
You will, I promise you. It'll be, because our issue was we had a pipsqueak, like a 5'2" kid trying to block like a 6-foot linebacker if he was stepping up, and he was just like, Coach, I'm not going to do it. And we're like,
well, yeah, that's the thing too. Like, the other thing for me is like I tell these backs all the time, like, hey, you know, you want to get to college, you think you're going to be and we have our guy, the kid that we had last year, the student we had last year is a legitimate D1 guy. And so I want him to be able to pass block. Like I really do. You have to be able to do it, you know, especially I always remember it was the major separator for guys in the league. Like if you get a guy, a running back, and he doesn't know how to pass block, he will not be in the game on a pass play. You're blocking the franchise. You will not be in the game. You have to prove that you know pass pro. And not only that you know pass pro, that you can go up there and blunt a mic in the A gap coming from depth. You know, like it's not for the faint of heart. And so I want them to know how to do that. But at the same time, I don't want, you know, you're basically hamstringing yourself by not getting someone out, and it's an easy completion. The thing that I would add to your swing and shoot thing, the one check down that I love that I haven't done yet at the high school level, but I will, is we used to call it a check M. And I don't know, I want to say it was a digit system, but it was basically an abbreviated swing. So it's not like way out to the numbers. It was like a half and then like a tight roll. And then you get it going downhill. So it's like a swing path and then it's like a tight turn. And man, Phillip Rivers, Sproulsy, back in the day, oh my goodness. It was like, because it times up the same. It's almost an easier throw. I never liked that throw, like all the way horizontal after like three hitches.
It is difficult. I will be honest.
And so this check M, I don't know why they call it check M. And maybe I'm making it up, and I'm pretty sure it was called check M. And I could probably go back and look in the books, but it was like a tight swing, and it gets that back going downhill. And they just liked it just because of what you were saying. They didn't have their back turned. They weren't, you know, sometimes you throw a swing and it lays up a little bit. Yeah. Now all of a sudden someone's closing on you. It's not that fun. And so this was amazing. And we used to, when I was with the Chargers, they started every practice throwing checkdowns to the back. And so it was always steered in my head. Like, that's why, you know, you got to do that to get good at it. And, but that was one of the few places that did that.
I've never even heard of that, dude. Thank you. Coaches, I'm sorry if y'all don't find this entertaining. This right here was worth it. That little nugget. So if you're taking notes, you need to go ahead and put that in your notes. All right, I saw a very good. Oh, okay. Are you a fan of running your quarterback or not?
Right in my sweet spot right now. And there's probably some like, because we're in like Zoom Fest or YouTube Fest right now.
Zoomtopia.
Yeah, that I'm sure some San Diego head coaches are watching this. And last year we did not run our quarterback at all. This year we will run our quarterback. Yes, I'm fine saying that. It's
okay.
Yeah, it was my own. It was my own mistake
from San Diego.
It was my own mistake about last year. We only had one guy, and I babied it to a certain extent. He was a better runner than I gave him credit for, and he saved us a handful of times with his feet. You know, saving plays. But we never intentionally had a bunch of, you know, zone read type or, you know, bash type stuff with him that would allow him to go downhill behind pattern or gap stuff. And this year we got two guys that are both great athletes, and we're going to let them loose, hopefully.
Okay. Got a coach in here who wants to know, what's your philosophy on how many concepts to carry in a game?
I mean, yeah, that's a tough one. What do you have? I mean, air raid, I feel like you guys, it's pretty.
I'm gonna be honest, we don't have that much.
It never changes.
I've literally gone half a season with only one run concept.
Yeah, I mean, we could. I can go either way. The way that I best want to answer that is, I personally would like to carry a high volume because I just think it's fun and like that part of it is enjoyable. But if the quarterback's not comfortable with it, and if we don't know how to do it, we're not going to do it. Like, I'm not going to draw up stuff on the sideline that we've never done. I did do that a few times.
Yeah, I remember you saying.
I rarely do that. But the idea, well, one of the ideas of the system is that it's adaptable, that you can mix and match certain things like that. But I don't have a core set of like, you know, we only carry 10 plays or 25 plays a game. You know, I've heard, you know, I guess I don't think of it like that. I think I want to have as much as possible to be able to score as many points as possible. And that usually involves a handful of different concepts that are specific to that week that I really like, that I think will be touchdowns. And so I don't know.
Okay.
It's no easy answer there. I should probably pare it down, but we'll see. It's always based on my opinion, based on the capacity of the quarterback, how much volume they can handle. I've been around some guys that don't like having a lot of plays, would rather run the same play 4 times. And then I've been around some guys that are like, we're never going to run that play from the same formation without a different motion the rest of the year, you know, that type of stuff. And so I see the fluctuation.
I just like when I ask you these questions, you want to say something, but you kind of just like, no, I'm not going to say that.
I mean, I can picture quarterbacks in my head, certain guys that were like, didn't want high volumes and stuff. And then other guys that would get pissed that they felt like, we only have, 5 plays in third and medium. Like we need, like, what if we catch, like a full day of third and medium? What are we going to do?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I can see that. All right. What are your non-physical tangibles you look for in your QBs?
I mean, I don't know if this probably isn't the answer that you're looking for, but I'm not sure that it necessarily changes that much from other positions. I feel like I'm looking for people that the easy answer, and this is, I don't even want to say it. Like I wanted to say like people that love ball, but really it's not love ball. I want people that want to compete, that would want to compete if we're playing table tennis, horse, wiffle ball, baseball, competitive ass people. And that's not just the players, that's coaches. I want that environment where people are competing in everything that they do. And I want people that, aren't afraid to get after it and fail. You have to be willing and comfortable going out there and knowing what hard work is, putting everything you can into it, and then letting the chips fall where they may, and play with that type of like, not reckless abandon, but the ability to like let yourself go and get after it. And that's what I always felt like when I was playing my best, and when the best players I was around, they had the capacity to just ramp it up. And I think of it almost like an amplifier. Like you don't want to live your life on 10, or at least I don't want to live my life on 10, but I do want to have the capacity to ramp it up for practice and then ramp it all the way up for the game, and be able to do that. Like, in the league, you got to do it 16, 20 times. In high school, you got to ramp it up like almost 15 times. You're going to go to a state thing. So like it's a learned skill. You don't want to walk around at 10. You don't want to go to the party after the game at 10. But you do, want to come out the locker room. You do want to finish the game, or if you're in overtime, you want to be able to get and hold that for as long as you possibly can. And so to me, that's a learned skill. And so I'm looking for people that want to compete and that are not afraid of the moment, that want to get after it and would do the same thing. I just coach football. It'd be the same if they coached baseball, or if I was a mathlete, that type of thing where it's
athlete.
All
right. So you say that's a learned skill. How do you learn it?
I think you practice it. You're in, safe environments where you can cultivate those type of things, whether it's good on good, going to camps, not being afraid to play against upperclassmen, depending on what manufactured, for me, for our defense, I'll jump out there and do 7-on-7. I'm not afraid of any of our corners, like that type of thing where like, they're not going to face that type of guy. We actually have a guy in San Diego who's probably better than I am, but most people are not going to be able to spin it like that. And so I want them to crave that type of competition. And, you can see it. Everybody can see it in like a 1-on-1 drill or 7-on drill, not the loudmouth that's just talking to talk, but the guy who's in it, I want people who are locked in, competing, getting after each other in a good natured way. You're all on the same team, but it shouldn't be an easy drill. Like one of my good friends is our defense coordinator. Or we'll compete like hell. We competed like hell all through college. He was a safety. I was a quarterback. He's a defense coordinator. I call the plays on offense. Like, it's fun. We want that. Like, I want that tension of trying to compete and get after it. And I think it's manufactured in safe environments. Nobody cares if you win 7-on-7. Nobody cares. Like, nobody cares. Yeah. Even in the league, they'll give you your stats at the end of minicamp. They'll be like, you were 12 for 15 and 7-on-7. I don't care. Like, it's just, it doesn't matter. But it does matter that you're competitive as hell, and that people believe that they can, go into any environment and you give them a great chance to win. That's what I'm looking for. I wish we had like 33 of those.
Yeah. Then you'd be playing for the state every single year. I got a lot of questions in chat. You talk about tempo. How do you, don't tell us the secret sauce, but like signals, do you signal? Do you just scream it in? Do you have wristbands? Like, do you do the boards with 8 different pitchers and the players know? What do you do?
We've done all of those except the boards. The boards, I was thinking this year, what I really want to do is I want one of those like banner expander things like that block you from the back that I feel like are really popular in like Division I ball, just to like pretend that we're doing something really, and then you have like a guy signaling like 50 yards away. No, we do signals. I do normally signals. Sometimes I'll yell it out. Everything is one word code word anyway, so I could yell it out if I wanted to, but we do signals, and it's it's all built. We might have talked about the last time, but it's all built post-mortem, as far as like everything is created to go as fast as possible. So nothing's created like, this is our play, how do we make it go fast? Everything is, we go fast. How can we build this concept in one word to go fast? And so that's kind of the idea. And really, you know, I would love to go as fast as we possibly can. We probably did more peak tempo last year than I probably anticipated, just because it was people would try to jack with us about what they were trying to do, either front wise or coverage wise or pressure wise. And early in a series, I would just peak you and then we're good. And then I felt like at least I can get us into what we wanted to get into, as opposed to just calling, you know, taking a risk on a chance on what we were going to do.
Okay, I'm stupid. What's peak tempo? Is that as fast as you can go?
No, that's like the thing where everybody goes up to the line of scrimmage, you like do a dummy and everybody peeks over to the side. I guess people call it other things. I call it peak.
No, that's fine. That's fine. I just didn't.
Do you guys do that?
We call it, we just freeze it.
Yeah.
Same difference.
It's amazing. Do you guys do a cadence, or do you do like a hand signal or something, like for the snap count?
We went to a clap this year, and that did really well.
Yeah, we do the clap
drawing
too.
like
easy.
Drawing it off sides, because then our center would then give the go. And so we would go,
So you do a clap and a go?
Yeah, like a quarterback would clap, and then the center would say go. And they would jump off sides. He would even say go when he snaps it too. So he's now saying
that's more what what I was looking at you weird for. So he claps it, and then is there a delay, or he just goes? Is it like clap go, and he just yells go?
It's clap then go usually. And then when
How come he has to yell go?
Yeah.
Why does he yell go?
To tell the rest of the line that he snapped the ball.
They don't hear the clap?
Well, we give the center the ability to, if he sees someone's coming or not. Like toward the end of the year, the head coach didn't want to go fast at all. So we just said, hey, okay, center, you can control. Once the quarterback claps, he's signaling to you, hey, I'm ready for the ball whenever.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
And then I didn't want my guys, I had a tackle that's love him to death. He wasn't the brightest. So he would be looking in at the ball. So when it snapped, then he's looking up, and then we're like, no. The center will just say go, and then you just keep your eyes on your man. Yeah. That's what happened.
Yeah, we do the clap, and I love it. We do the clap, we do the two clap, we do the clap freeze, we do the clap, dummy plays. It's easy, and they're all signals.
Do you signal in what kind of clap you want?
Yeah, anything. I signal in the clap that I want in the peak tempo, because we have multiple different claps, and then I'll sing, and then other than that, no, just those ones.
Okay, that's awesome. All right, how many formations and motions do you use?
Oh, another good question. Last year we were super simple when it came to formations. Probably, I would say, less than a dozen. That's counting right and left. So really 6, and we didn't do hardly any motions. We would have no called motions. We had certain concepts that have built-in motions. This year, we'll probably have a little bit more, just because I got more time on my hands, and I feel like now, I was a little nervous about the volume that our students and players could handle. And in reality, they can handle a lot more than what we did last year, I think. And if anything, the coaches were the guys that had the most issues, just because they already have systems or filters that they're working through, as opposed to, these guys that have never been coached, certain protections or certain run concepts or pass concepts. They're sponges, and they're probably smarter than most of us. And so they get it really quickly, as long as I hope I'm doing a decent job teaching it. But we'll see this year. I think I'll probably end up using a bunch in that freeze or peak tempo, a lot more shifts than I did last year. I didn't almost do any shifts. And I felt like in that peak tempo, if I do shifts, it probably give me even a better clue on exactly what they're doing. And, but when I was playing, the reason that we didn't do a lot of it last year is because when I was playing, I never thought that it gave me that much of an advantage to have a guy go across the field in motion. Like, I can tell if it's man or, like it's man, like I'm running or something. Like that just never happens. Like it rarely, if ever, happens. And so, and really it doesn't matter most of the time. Like, I don't know. I'm always thinking, it's just going to slow us down. Like, why would I want to shift motion? Now you watch like the Niners, they do shift motion, shift motion. Like, I get it that, half of it is just showing off. I feel like to a certain extent of like, we're going to get you, everybody can see where the 3 technique is. Just, you want to run there or you don't. Like, I don't know. It was never my thing.
Oh, you better watch out, man. Some coaches love the shifts and motions and reshifts and
no, and one of the coaches in San Diego that I think is one of the best coaches in the area by far is he's a formation guy like that, and he's always, everything is built off formations, and I guess it's just, for lack of a better way to think of it, as a philosophical approach. Like, I'd rather go fast and be simple and let them know where they line up, as opposed to looking at me, changing the formation. Here's a shift, here's a motion, having people step on and off the line and check. And like we could barely get lined up last year. Like, I could imagine doing like a trade or shift or something where someone has to step off and step on, like, it would be a disaster for us.
And I feel like I'm not smart enough. I'm going to be completely honest. I don't know what the defense is going to give us, like you said earlier, when you play them, because there've been times where, they're 4 games, they've been an odd front, too high. Now against us, they're an even front, cover 0. And then you add in the shifts and motions. I'm just like, I have no idea what they're going to do. It's kind of like a crapshoot. And that's I don't know.
We'll see this year. I have some ideas as far as like, I think that there are ways that I was probably dated in some of my formations that I was just like anti, whether it be like, I remember seeing people run like quads or Cinco stuff like in 7-on-7. And I'd be like, that's a clown show. Like that would never work. And then sure enough, you see it happen in a game and people flip out because they don't have any rules, about how to handle, the 5th wide receiver, that they can't identify who's eligible, who's not eligible to run across the field. And it's like, yeah, I mean, I get it. I think that there is some space for innovation like that when it comes to formation tricking people, but that's not where we're going to live. We're going to live in being fast. And so if we can get in and out of those formations being fast, maybe.
All right. So you've said you've been looking at pin and pull and counter. Have you been diving into tempo in this extended off period to try to go faster, or are you just taking what you did last year and just cranking it up?
I mean, this is going to sound like, I don't know, like I guess like self-flattering, but like, I don't think you can go faster than our system allows you to go. So like, I hope we play faster, but that's really on me to coach it better and call it better. And hopefully I think our players this time last year, we had not installed one play. And so when I told them, that we're going to go at this tempo every single play, they'd be like, they didn't even have a mental model of what that looked like. They just couldn't compute it. And so we'd have to go out there, learn it, practice it, X and whatever. Then you have to have success doing it. And then they start to believe, and then it's fun. Then other people want to come out and play football, those type of things where like some of our best players were basketball players that they showed up in the middle of August. They're halfway through the season, halfway through camp. They're like, hey, I heard this is fun. Like, yeah, it's supposed to be fun. Like, yes, we're going to throw it a lot. Like, you want to, nice. Can you catch? You look like you play slot. Like that type of stuff. For me, it's like, that's what I'm looking for. I'll maybe play. And again, this is like just building off what we did last year, as far as the freeze tempo stuff. Like I think I will have more options as far as what we're doing at the line of scrimmage, but as far as playing faster, like the tempo of our guys getting up, getting set at the line of scrimmage with our offensive line and perimeter guys, it cannot be done faster. Like
okay.
Can't.
All right. So there's a good question. Now, when you did that peak, did the defense change what they were doing as you peaked?
They didn't. And so it was fascinating to me to like watch like Clemson or like the high level guys that change and then they change and then you can catch them like peak. Then the other thing that we have is like peak plays, where you fake the peak and go and stuff like that, where like now you're getting into like super, smoke and mirrors. But I mean, it's a lot harder. This is the way that I always think of it. And I'm sure you think of it as a similar way as a fast guy, but like we are built for this. Like our whole system is this. You can't create, you might be able to create like a check, like, hey, we're going to run core, we're going to have this blitz dialed up this week. But our whole system is this. Like I can call anything. Everything is quick. There is no like huddle, 10 play goal line package. It doesn't exist. Like just the same way that like nobody on our team looks over on 4th down. There is no punting. You don't look over here. Like don't look over here. And so it's like it takes the decision making away from it. They know like there is no kickoff team. Like you just like there is no kickoff team. Like what do you mean? Like, and so that part of it is like, you know, I remember when I told that we didn't even talk special teams until we got to camp for our team last year. And so I could see it in their faces. They like didn't believe it, but then you walk it back, you show the math, you show people how they have success doing it. And you show like, hey, we need some strategic systemic advantages. This is one for us. We're going to believe in this. This is what we are. This is what we're going to do. And it's going to match everything else that we do. It's not going to be like, hey, we're going to run the wing tee, bleed the clock, and we're never going to punt. Like, no, like everything we do is explosive plays, chunks, go as fast as we can. Yeah, good luck. Try to stop us 4 plays in a row.
Yeah.
And
it's hard to simulate that in practice. That's another thing a lot of coaches I feel that aren't tempo, don't fully grasp how, yeah, you can have 2 different, like a normal scout team and then your JVs as a scout team to try to simulate that. But it is night and day when you play a true tempo team, like you said, that's just like balls out. This is who we are. Try to stop us. I love that.
Yeah. I mean, I was just looking for, well, it's a combination of things. I think it's the best way to play, the most fun to play. I also really was always looking, and I'm still looking for strategic advantages, things that can be system built, that it doesn't matter, you know, we might not have the best talent. We might have worse talent, you know, in 3 years, but our system allows us to at least take advantage of one thing that we can control. We can control the tempo offensively. We can control how fast we go. Now we might change, you know, concept wise, what we're running, scheme wise, what we're running, trying to get the ball to different guys, but you can't simulate that. You can't, especially when you start like moving the hash. You go from hash to big play to chunk to now your guy's tired to now I see someone get subbed out. Like they're just, you know, you can't tap. You know, it's one of those things where we're just trying to go as fast as we possibly can. And I just think I just remember playing, always being like, why don't we just play the game in 2 minutes? Like it's so much easier. It's so, you know, it's cleaner. The looks were cleaner, you know, that's why it's almost like we have 2 different types of game, or at least I do as a play caller. I have drive starters, like first down. I know that they can come out and try to like exotic us to a certain extent, like as much exotic as you can get in high school, but like they can have something dialed up first down, but you can't have something dialed up for third down. You can't have something dialed up for the second first down. You can't have something dialed up after an explosive play. And so I always have those kind of built into what I'm thinking, or if they call a timeout or we come out of a quarter, I got to know, hey, you know, they're probably going to have one of their play calls dialed up because they're only going to get like 5 of these all game. You know, otherwise they're going to be, you know, having to go with what they called the play before.
Okay. Now, are y'all a 2 platoon team or a 1 platoon?
I would love to be a 2 platoon team. We have no chance right now of being a 2 platoon team. The same thing I tell our guy, and it's a little bit different. And it's funny because I'm sure like many of people who are listening to this I'm all about like these online clinics right now. There's just so many, you're just saturated with things. And so, but hearing how people practice and how people like make these decisions, we're a 2 platoon team, like that is a luxury. Like good for you if you are. I went to a high school where we had even our best players still played both ways. And I always tell we have certain guys that are like, I got to be a starter on defense. I'm like, listen, it doesn't matter if you're a starter on defense or not. It's who's in the game on the third down where we got to have a stop. You will be in the game. Now, you might not play 75% of the snaps on defense, but every meaningful snap, you'll be in there. And that's what I can promise you. And so, you know, it's just a different way to think of it as saying, you know, I'm the starting wide receiver. No, you know, you're the starting corner. And then when I'm going to throw the ball to you, you're the receiver. You know, that type of stuff where it's just like being trying to be somewhat strategic about not running people into the ground. But to your point about practicing the 2 platoon team, I don't know how y'all practice, but it's almost a detriment for us to even have a look team. You know, we're trying to go so fast that you know, we can't, we have tempos, we have periods broken up almost to 5-minute groups now where we're just going as fast as we can, rotate off someone else. We'd have a different segment of just going speed on air, because it's really not, we try to do like, I'll have the defense coordinator or someone who really knows the system be kind of the conflict defender, that we're reading on certain plays, and they'll have the script to know where that person is. But, you know, for us to have our 8th wide receiver playing DB, it's not helping. It's just not. We just don't have the numbers. It's not helping.
I love that, man. Y'all go that fast.
We try to. I mean,
that's beautiful.
We got to the point last year. I've heard people talk, and my thing about it, I actually like the summer 7-on-7 stuff more than I thought I would going into it this time last year. It's fun to compete. There are obviously major drawbacks from quarterback wise as far as how you actually play versus how you play in a game. And play calling wise is hilarious for some of these schools, like how they pretend to call plays and then don't do that in games. But the actual 7-on-7 itself for us, I don't know. We don't even, at the end of the year, we didn't do 7-on-7. Like we called it tempo perimeter. And we just went as fast as we could on the perimeter. And we actually got to the point at the end of the year where we were just going tempo perimeter, and the quarterback would call out, you know, I'm going to throw it to the L or I'm going to throw it to the R. Everyone else has to sprint to get lined up, but then we're not wasting legs, you know, because I know they got to go both ways. Like we're not going to just run it to run it. Like, I don't need you to run it. Once you prove to me that you can run a corner, like we want you to run a corner, I don't need you to run a corner. You know, if you're not going to get the ball and there's not a defense, like just trying to be smart with legs. I think guys,
that's really smart. No, that's really smart. So you would have the quarterback say, I'm just throwing that. Let's say we're running tempo and I want to run Y corner. Are you telling them, hey, throw the corner route or throw the snag route or the backside, or is the quarterback coming up and he's just making that decision?
We'll have as many quarterbacks as we can have. So last year we had like 1.5. So we'd have another quarterback out there, or I would be out there as another one too, if it's a scripted play series. And we would tell the guy, only the people that are getting the ball, you know, like, hey, you know, I got the in, or I got the comeback, I got the whatever, I got the post. And everyone else we would tempo to the line of scrimmage. Everything would be the same speed, but then we wouldn't, you know, I'm not going to make them run a go route. I'm not going to make them run a clear, you know, if we're not going to throw it. That's the end that's the end of the year type stuff. But even during the year, there are, you know, I'm always hypersensitive about legs. I want people feeling good. I don't want people feeling like, especially guys that are going both ways, are dynamic people, I want them to feel explosive. Like we experimented with the what do we call it? No Sweat Wednesday.
How'd that go?
This is going to sound crazy, but I actually, walking off the field on some of those Wednesdays, I felt like we were way better prepared than we ever were before. But that was just because there was no mistakes, right? Like, you're not doing anything. Anybody can get lined up, you know, and I can say, hey, we're going to run this, either this, and then, okay, break, you know, and like onto the next drill. Like, there's no mistakes. And so I thought it was good. We did it I wanted to do it the whole year. We weren't ready to do it early in the season. About halfway through the year when we started doing it, it worked really well for about 3 weeks. And then I felt like they got used to it. Like, it was like chill Wednesday as opposed to like locked in Wednesday. And so we went back to running, and it was, you know.
Did you see a difference in how they played on the games those 3 weeks on Friday? Or could you tell?
Just anecdotally, qualitatively, they would tell me like, hey, you know, I feel really good. We got to do that more. We got to do it. You know, that's great. And it probably was great for like the 5 guys that we were asking to do too much, you know, but there's no other way to do it. Like, you know, for us, at least last year, we just didn't have the dudes. And so we needed those guys doing that.
I mean, good question. They're, Baker, I can't speak right now. How many seconds would you say between snaps?
Real time?
Game?
I mean, I would love to measure real time. I don't know. I've actually thought about we had some camera issues in our program last year just because we were trying to go so fast.
That's nice.
But I was thinking about this year getting a camera and just having it roll so we could time between. I never really care about the time of the game clock, you know. I'm talking more like, you know, are you getting down to like under 15 seconds? You know, are you that type of thing where, you know, I honestly, I'll be honest with you, I never put a stopwatch to it to see how fast it is. But to me, you know, it's a core value of what we're trying to do. And so the other part about it that I probably overcoached early in the year was I'm hypersensitive to offensive linemen doing like the accordion thing, like where they like center sets his feet, guard, feet, tackle, feet, and then they all kind of like sit down, and it takes forever. And you're just like, and I'm just like, you got to get up there and get set, bro, as fast as you can. I don't care if your split is off by 6 inches. Like, get up there. Whoever gets set first is the winner. Well, they ended up like the other part that I didn't do a good job early in the season was we needed them to cover. I'm used to calling it cover or like chase the play and like go pick up the ball carrier, clear your guy off, like get in there and like, that's part of being an offensive lineman to me is like covering, it's almost like going 5 yards after the play, whatever you want to teach it in practice. But in the game, you got to run and chase the play and look for work. Well, we were so like, get lined up. That like we would throw a bubble to the left or something and they would just go get lined up. I'd be like, yo, you got to go like protect your boy on the sideline. That's great. That's being coachable. My bad for overcoaching it. But like, I need you to go, cover, pick your guy up, clear him off, and then go get set. And so it's a fine line for us. We're also very intentional. We're handing the ball to the umpire. We're not handing it to the side judge. We're not handing it to the back judge. We're handing the ball to the umpire. I'm talking to the umpire before every game. As soon as we got like halfway through the season, they were all like, every time we'd have the pregame meeting, they'd be like, oh, we know, you're coming, we're going fast. And I like, hydrate up, buddy.
Have you found that refs would try to slow you down?
I feel like some refs are out of shape and slow themselves down. Absolutely. And they're just not used to it. I think people, I don't know, might just be our area in San Diego. And we're also, obviously, we're not at the highest level of high school football in the area, but the majority of people don't go fast. Mm-hmm. So it's more of like the outlier, like, oh, they do this, like you're like a unicorn, as opposed to being like, I think this is pretty popular. You should look into this. Like I didn't invent this.
Yeah. Nah, you don't, you want to be the only one. Coach David wants to know, if you are one platoon and playing that fast on offense, what do you do for conditioning program to be able to play all facets of the game and press tempo on offense? Do y'all do anything special or?
I mean, we don't do any conditioning during the season. We've never gotten on a line, that type of thing ever. I think it's a cliche, but like we tell them that their conditioning is practice. And like not every period is full tempo, but we probably have, if it's an offensive emphasis day and we have 5 periods that are strictly offense with certain situations or period or types of ball that we're practicing, 3 of them are full speed. And that means, we're going as fast as we possibly can. And you might tap out, if you get the ball 3 times in a row, but like the expectation is if you start the series, you finish the series. And we don't do any sort of in-season conditioning, and that was a change for many coaches who wanted to like I to the point where I would have to tell them like, hey, we do not do that. Like you're running gassers, like do not do that. We don't run half gassers. Like the other thing that's different that we do, and it's just I obviously think it's the best way to do it. That's why we do it, but I don't do any sort of physical punishment. So like we're not, I remember doing like hot dog rolls or like whatever like thing like that. Like that's y'all might need to look at like the social research about how people learn, but that ain't it. And so we don't do anything like that. And so, but at the same time, now that's another thing, like this whole thing it's everybody's world is upside down and many things more important than football conditioning. But we are losing a lot with our foundation for what we're setting. Not that, what you do in April is a direct translation to what happens in October, but there is a foundation for work ethic that we try to create that I found was not there last year. And so we were very intentional about trying to build that up this offseason, and we're on a nice trajectory, and that now is gone. And so how we build that up moving forward, I don't know. We just try to work as hard as we possibly can in the summer. I'll be honest, I jump in there and do it as much as I possibly can too. I get, just because I feel like it helps to see it. We didn't have, I think a lot of programs have like seniors or maybe guys from college that will come back and train. But we didn't have that. Like I could tell them like, hey, I need you going max effort here, 100%. Like I don't do the whole 110% thing. Like I need max effort. What does it look like for you right here, 100%? Well, I'm 40 and I just beat your ass, up this hill. And like, or I'm, squatting 100 pounds more than you. Like not a good sign. Like, and so, all those things that I think it does help to see someone and be like, hey, I didn't make this up. Like this is what they do in the league. Like I'm not asking you to be a professional athlete, but like, I want you to know that this is how they do it at the highest level. I can do it. I'm not asking you to do anything I wouldn't do. And, that type of stuff I think resonates as opposed to me. And I do think that The players appreciate knowing that they're not going to, if they have a penalty, they're not going to have to run a lap. Or if they jump off sides, they're not going to run a lap, or they're not going to run a gas, or like that stuff to me was always like, that's not helping us. We need to get everything that we're trying to do is to help us create a great environment and a kind of experience for the student athlete. And running a gasser ain't it. It's just not it. Like if they're not in shape, that's your strength and conditioning issue, to build up to it.
I like what you said about the punishment. Now I'm ignorant. I'm going to be 100% honest. That's what I was taught, coached. I try not to do it, but I have been guilty of doing that. What are some good tips to not do, like to get your point across, but not punish that way? Or is there any research you can point me at? Because that's something I really want to.
I mean, I always, as an academic, a recovering academic, I'm always hesitant to say like the research says this, because that is a fast way to say like people full of shit when they say that. Like you gotta like, I'm not gonna be able to like cite, like peer reviewed research. I know it exists. But at the same time, for me, it's the exact same thing that we ask our players, right? Like, I need you to make good decisions. You got to be intentional about your decision making. What do you value? Do you value staying on sides, or do you value, instilling the life lessons that you want to instill that they take as a takeaway from this? Is it to fear failure with physical punishment? You can't say, hey, I want to let you loose Friday night. I want you to play at your absolute peak. No failure, no fear of failure. Go rip it. Well, if I throw a pick, if I jump off sides, am I going to have to run a lap? Like, are you going to embarrass me in front of the team? Now, at the same time, one of our things that we talk about a lot is poise. And we definitely had a couple dudes that couldn't handle their stuff. And I made, individual examples of them, pulled them aside individually, told them, hey, if this continues, I'm going to, and then I also build it at the collective level. Like, hey, we can't have this. This hurts the team. But it's not just to embarrass them. It's to say, hey, when we have a penalty, our percentage to score a touchdown drops 33%. So you want to hold or you want to get beat? Just get beat. Like, we'll take the 5 yards. I won't take the 10 yards. You take a personal foul, it's like 50% we're not going to score.
Okay.
Like, I mean, that to me, I'm always looking for like, I want the facts. I need some evidence. But at the same time, I know not everybody's going to have those stats, but they're pretty available now in Huddle. It's like 3 clicks. And so,
so you're essentially telling them the why. And I like that, because you're right. I would rather take 5 yards than a hold somehow in 10 yards from the spot of the foul. So even it's 10 yards, it could be like a 25-yard penalty.
Yeah. I mean,
and that's smart.
I mean, well, I don't know if it's smart. We try to do it. It's but we have a guy coming back this year who's one of our better athletes, and he just loses his mind sometimes. And like, I always talk about the 3 things that we talk about all the time are being fast, being aggressive, and being poised. And if you're all 3 of those things, if we check the box on all 3 of those as being the faster team, and I mean tempo and I mean playing speed, aggressive, we know we're going to be the more aggressive team. It's impossible, unless we like travel to Pulaski. He probably would have me with the aggressiveness. That dude is impressive stuff he runs.
You seen his arms? Like,
you would definitely have me in the weight room too.
He has to. The only exercise has to be curls. Like, that has to be it. His regiment. They're freaking unbelievable.
I've never noticed, but now I will probably not.
Need to go. There's videos on YouTube where he's like coaching. First off, I'm a huge fan of his, so I'm not, talking shit. I am a little bit, but he's like coaching in no shoes, a tank top, and they're just doing some crazy stuff, man.
Hey man, sleeves optional.
Gun show. He's got the tickets.
Hey, well, I will tell you, one of the things that's come out of this crazy virus gate is I was really mad at myself. I've always been like not a gym rat by any means, but like I liked working out when I was playing, and I still like working out. I obviously not quite at the same extent, but I always used to go to a gym or like pay a trainer or something. I'm so pissed at myself for not getting like a ridiculous home gym, like how I don't have like a cage and like nice Olympic stuff. So I went out and bought. Right as soon as they like locked down California, I was like, oh, I know where this is going. Like, got on Amazon, like power blocks. I needed those. Like, I don't know if you've ever seen these dumbbells.
I have,
but they're like, they change weights. And I remember making fun of them the first time I saw them. I'm like, look at these. It's like some like Euro thing. Like, it looks terrible. Well, they're like toilet paper, man, on the online. You can't get them. So like I'm making deals, trying to like finagle my way to get these power block dumbbells. And sure enough, I got them, and they're amazing. They're the best couple $100 I've spent in a long time. I hit those things every day now.
I remember my dad bought those when they first came out, man. And you're right. I laughed. Now, do you have the ones that there's like different kinds you can pull them out and
I have
do like the pins, or have you seen the ones where you can like just turn a knob?
Yeah, I think those are like the Bowflex ones. I've never picked those up. I just remember picking up the power block ones in all the like European gyms I was ever at. And I just always remember being like, this feels like homemade. Like it feels like this is like someone's like science project. But now that I have them, they're really well made. Like they're fascinating. And I'm so pissed at myself for not having like the full build out, because
you know what you need to do, man. You need to do a QB school video on the power blocks for quarterbacks, for coaches. That's what you need to do, man.
I should see if they want to get like a little North American sponsorship. I don't even know where they're out of.
You need to. And then you know what? To get other coaches to watch it, you need to put it on your Patreon, which the links are in the chat right there.
I feel like I'm like naked in here because I'm used to doing the live stream where I can see the pop out chat, and like I'm like
can't see it. Okay, I'm sorry, man.
Well, maybe I'm sure there's a way that I could do it. I just don't have it popped up on this. But it's fun, man. The YouTube first of all is fascinating on many different levels, but it's awesome, and I enjoy it. I appreciate what you do. I know when we were installing stuff last year, I was looking at air raid stuff on your channel, trying to hijack some mesh, and it's been good.
How'd that go?
It was great in 7-on-7.
Well, thank you so much for coming on. I love talking ball with you, man. It is a pleasure. Your channel really, I'm not bullshitting you. It's one of the few that has the alert. So when it pops up, I'm like, I am watching it. Your Patreon, I'm mad at myself that I hasn't joined sooner.
Nah.
And I love it. So coaches, again, you need to do it. It is unbelievable. Coaches that are here, we peaked at 130. Thank y'all so much for staying up with us. Y'all be safe. I don't know why I say this, but I've been saying this lately. Wash your hands, wash your ass. And until next time, continue to master the spread, score points, and have fun. All right.